As Esper can attest, having been the only person on the panel who's actually met my dog, he has outgrown his little carrier that I carry him in places where people probably get annoyed that there's a dog. And he outgrew it, so I had to get him a new one. I'm putting it in host chat now. So I got him a new one.
I should point out, this is like a puppy Bjorn, not like a carrier.
Wow! Ash, that is a hell of a look.
There he is.
This is like your character sprite now, totally. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I can't wait to, platform with this character.
Yeah, I was going to say, you look like you're about to whip him off the back like he's magnetically attached and start snowboarding on him.
What does he do? What's his function?
Well, actually, now that I think about it, the Astrobot game, it puts a dog on a backpack and he's like a rocket. He's so I guess it could be a boo rocket. I'm not sure. But
I was thinking like a grappling hook myself. But
you look like you're ready to invade Gruntilda's lair to liberate the Jiggies. Hold on to your wavs. This is episode 380 of Insert Credit.
Oh, yeah.
This is a podcast about a panel of video game experts bravely meeting the challenges of a series of questions before relenting to a horrible buzzer. I'm Alex Jaffe, and one of my bad video game habits is that I fail to take advantage of when a game gives me multiple save files. I always just save over the same one spot.
Oh, I'm Frank Spaldi, and I don't think that's a bad habit. Save space.
Hey, thank you for your vindication.
Yeah. Also, it saves you, I don't know, just having this endless scroll of snapshots that I'll never revisit. It just feels weird. I'm with you, man. Depends on the game, I guess, because there's some games where it's this decision I might regret.
Exactly.
So let's at least save that. Let's put that one aside.
Right.
But I think it is actually a bad habit to make a new save every time. And anyway, so I'm Frank Cifaldi. And my bad gaming habit, I don't know if it's bad for the industry, I guess. I don't buy a game unless I'm ready to commit, as we learned from the Game of the Year episode.
I respect that a lot.
So we have both vindicated, so no one has a bad habit so far.
I think that, if you're going to play a video game, you should play that video game. When you grow up and buy your own games as a kid, and you have to save up months of allowance to afford a cartridge, it's you play the hell out of that thing. You don't go around sampling whatever you can.
Well, there's also a sunk cost fallacy that happens when you're a kid, sort of, and I don't do that. I will... Okay. I just won't buy until I'm ready, but that doesn't mean that I stick with it if I don't like it.
I'm Ash Parrish, and I don't think either of those are bad habits, except for I used to be like you, Jaffe, and I would just save over the one slot over and over again because I couldn't be bothered and it wouldn't make sense because I knew I wasn't going to go back anyway. And then I became a games journalist, and a lot of the games that I play are pre-release and therefore subject to a lot of bugs. And that fixed that habit quick, sharp, and in a hurry. So I have had to, after painful lessons, work my way out of that. And to your point, Frank, of course, you're a consumer in this. It is not your job to prop up the video game industry with your purchases. So you make the choices that make sense to you. And if you only want to buy a video game because this is something that you have proven to yourself that you like enough to spend your hard-earned dollars on, that's perfectly fine.
No, as an American consumer, I need to consume more. I need to have a Steam library in the hundreds, which so I'm doing it wrong.
You're not doing it wrong. And my bad video game habit is that I don't finish a lot of games, and I don't write the games that I play down enough to keep track, because I should finish more games. You don't have to finish games all the time if you're playing them. Sometimes you just get enough of something and that's it. You just walk away. It's fine. You don't have to finish it. But I feel like I should finish more games, and I feel like I should keep better track of the games that I play, because I'm a video game journalist. I should be able to, take a look back and say, oh yeah, I did play that.
Keeping track would be good for this show. If you could do that for this show.
But let's validate Ash right now. I don't think if you're not enjoying a game, you shouldn't force yourself to finish it unless because the products are there for you.
But do keep track.
You don't work for them. I'm
Brandon Sheffield. My gaming bad habit is have you seen all this? Have you seen all this stuff?
Yeah, I've seen all this.
This for what I refer to as this, for those of you not watching in video form. I have a lot of things here in my home where a lot of video games. I got a lot of them. They're all in here. I have most of these I got for cheap a long time ago, but I haven't gotten rid of any of them, and they're all still here.
Well,
so,
I'm not going to validate that. That's truly disgusting hoarder behavior. You got to work on yourself.
But when society collapses, I mean, we've like worked our way back up to the point where we can do like electronic stuff again with like generators or whatever. Like you are sitting on primo real estate. A lot of people discount the fact that even in an apocalypse, like you need art, and you need artists and entertainment, and you know that's an easy way to get it. So I'm going to validate you, Brandon, for that.
Nice, thanks.
Oh, I didn't realize this was the validating Brandon show.
We're all validating each other. Everybody should get validated. So there we go.
My parking and my lifestyle choice.
Okay. Here's the questions I have prepared for this week. Well, I'm not going to ask them all at once. I'm going to ask them sequentially, as I am wont to do.
That makes sense.
Here is that first question. This is maybe the broadest question I have ever asked on this show. But I want to get your opinion on this. How do you feel about video games right now?
That's an interesting one. So I just came back, not just, but a couple weeks ago, came back from DICE. And I can say from the perspective of game developers and publishers, there's actually a little more optimism right now than there was, I would say, like last year. Just in terms of there being some investment coming back in and there being some possibilities for doing things. It feels like it hasn't turned around, obviously, because there's, layoffs and cutbacks and everything. But it feels like there's not only Doom, there's a little stuff that's not Doom, is what I would say.
Yeah, last year's DICE was rough.
Yeah.
The news hasn't fully come off the neck, but it's not as tight anymore.
Yeah. There's not just Doom, there's also Duke Nukem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some other Doom clones.
I think games as products, as things to play and enjoy every year just continue to be better than the last. Great stuff comes out all the time, especially in the more independent space. I don't know if that necessarily lasts because we might be coming toward the end of things that were funded. I can't tell. Not a journalist no more. I don't pay attention until things are coming out and in my face. But I continue to think every time I kind of look at what's going on that, like, man, games are better than ever.
Video games fucking rule, dude. Like,
yeah,
they rule so hard. And I was playing a bunch of demos for Steam Next Fest and just seeing the different levels of creativity on display, even for the little bitty games that I played, for the little bit that I played them, because they're demos, right? It's just, if I always get this like jolt of right to the heart where I feel like, oh, humanity is so beautiful and you'll never get me to change my mind about it, no matter how much, it does its level best to beat it out of me. But just like I was playing a game called Bundle of Joy. I wrote about it on TheVerge.com, where you can check out all my works there. Bundle of Joy from this solo devved game about this guy trying to raise his newborn baby in the middle of a pandemic. And it's like got these WarioWare-esque mini games to like change the baby's diaper and stuff like that. And I just thought it was such a beautiful game that exists, that I can play, that has a touch of its own empathy and extends empathy to me and other people, because you can put in like your partner and your partner's skin tone and your partner's race. So you can like make the family that would reflect your own. And I just thought, oh my God, it's just beautiful shit. And that, extrapolate that out to all the thousands of games that Steam gets. I mean, not all of them are going to be as beautiful as that, but I love it. And I am filled with hope that we can get to a place where those kinds of games are able to thrive. Like, you're never going to beat it out of me. Try as you might. Video games fucking rule.
I admire, Ash, your ability to feel things about in general.
Full stop.
But also with regard to video games, it's very nice, because I feel like I used to have that at some point where I would, like Indica brought it back to me a little bit, but where I used to be able to feel things about the medium and about the the power and potential of it and what it can do for people. I've lost most of that, and so I really appreciate your your feelings in that regard, because it reminds me that it is possible, it's still happening, and that it's me who's become old and jaded.
Is it developing a video game that's done that?
No, I don't think so. I think that's a sensible question to ask, but I don't think that's what did it. I think it's just time and perhaps the general cynicism that I'm always fighting against. Getting a lot more shots in the arm.
Yeah.
Yes, but I truly without reservation admire that you can do that. So it's very nice, and it's nice to hear about things that are making you feel things and making you feel happy.
It's not so much like I choose to do this. Like it's like I have to.
Oh, I know.
Because if I don't, we don't want to go we don't want to go down that road. So I have to. I got to take it where I can get it, and it's not always there, but when it's there, it hits. So yeah.
Well, there's also a skill to being able to identify when that sort of thing is there for you, and feeling that emotional resonance instead of like. And this is probably where developing games changes it a bit for me. But there's always like a little bit of a barrier for me between appreciating something and analyzing something. There's always going to that layer of analysis kind of comes first, and then that has to be overcome before I start just having regular style enjoyment. So there is a little bit of that, but being able to like shortcut yourself to your emotional core is like super cool.
All right, that's time.
I also. Oh, okay, fine.
I will spend a credit on Frank's behalf.
Aw,
Wow,
okay. Credit
thank you.
spent. Ash Parrish, Ms. Moneybucks over here.
Wow.
Down to 9
Thank you,
credits.
Ash.
Yeah, you could have
Wow.
hosted your own show.
Means a lot.
She could still do that at
I
8.
better make this worth that credit. Dang.
Right, that's 8.
Okay, so I was going to ask everyone a question, which is that I know for sure that 10 years ago, I was not feeling it. I was looking at games that were like probably at E3. I think E3 was still a thing. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to like an Xbox event that had, like 30 demos for upcoming like digital games that they were publishing or whatever. And 10 years ago, as I looked around, any game I looked at, I would go, I've seen this before. This is very familiar. This is not interesting to me. And games were just not interesting to me at all, at least the ones I was looking at. Whereas now I'm seeing a lot of things all the time that are interesting to me. And is that me or is that games?
I think it's too. Well, you go ahead, Ash.
I think it's both.
Okay.
Honestly, yeah. I think I could agree with that. 10 years ago was what, 2015?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like everything coming out on like XBLA and stuff like that was like, I played this on the Super Nintendo. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't feel that way anymore when I'm just kind of looking at what's new on Steam. Might just be because I play on computers now. I don't know. I don't think it's that though.
No,
I think the Switch unlocked a lot of this, for example.
I think that it is not console dependent, really.
Yeah.
Though there is one aspect to it, which is 2015 was probably the tail end of, like not the tail end, the very end of digital games being in any way a novelty, to where like you could release something that was like something you'd played on the Super Nintendo and it would sell. Like that time had ended, but people were still doing it because they didn't know that it had ended, or it's that's all they wanted to make, whatever. Then meanwhile, it was also kind of just after the peak of AAA, probably.
Yeah.
So the people were still making all the Gears likes and the GTA likes and the whatever other likes that they could try to make.
Are you kind of saying there really wasn't a middle, and we kind of refigured out like AA in the intervening years?
So what I'm saying is that I think indies had to change because those XBLA Metroidvanias or whatever weren't selling regularly anymore, and so they had to like. More interesting ideas started to get rewarded a little more again. And then I think because there was then so much interest in indies during that time, like as those were kind of ramping up more, I think AAA started to have financial evidence of we could take more risks. And so AAA started to do some slightly different, weirder things, and you got
Mhm.
like a ladies Uncharted or whatever, which wasn't like that daring, but it was more daring than they had been before,
And it's boomeranged right back around because you probably couldn't do that shit today.
Yeah. I think 2015 was an interesting time, and I think it wasn't just you, but it was a lot of things.
Well, feminism was nice while it
Well, I'm
lasted.
now imagining a ladies Uncharted logo with like the script, and it's like pink. It's
Yeah.
ladies, and then
Uncharted. All right. Here's my next question. I would like you to rank these from best to worst. The X button, the O button, the square button, and the triangle button.
All right.
X is the best.
X is the
X
best.
is the best.
Body's best.
X is the best. So my feeling personally is that square is second best. And
I would agree.
The reason I feel square is second best is because that's where you like your action, your quick action button tends to be.
Absolutely.
I was thinking it might be controversial because circle is useful because it backs you out of menus and stuff. Unless you're in Japan starting 4 years ago, but or however many years it was before they unified X and circle being cross and circle, as they would say, being the same. Okay, I think square is next, and then circle and triangle. I'm not sure. I think circle might be next, and then triangle. That's my
That
feeling.
is exactly where
I
I
would agree.
am.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm there because I'm just a big believer in Super Mario World taught us where to put our thumbs, and that's the end of it. It's quicker to go to circle than it is triangle.
Yeah.
Yes.
So therefore, it is that exact order, and I don't even think there's more conversation to have.
I'll posit some more conversation. I think that the circle button is underrated in that it is a button on your controller that looks like a button. It's a button with a picture of a button on it. And I don't think there's another instance of that.
I do like that the symbols are printed on the button now versus like the Sega Genesis where, you've had the little symbol above the button.
Oh,
for
yeah,
like
that
the
was
Genesis
trash.
controllers. Yeah, no.
No, Genesis had it printed into the button. They're carved into the.
Well, there was one
face
where
of
it
the
was like
button.
above, right?
Yeah, regular Nintendo, Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't the Genesis? Oh, I've completely discombobulated my
let's not slander Sega.
No, that was a thing Sega had that Nintendo didn't.
Yeah, that's
There
right.
you go.
The glyphs on the buttons.
They had 3 molds for making buttons, not just one.
But yeah, I like your the ball of your thumb. I guess this is the ball. The part where the joint is goes on the X, and the tilt of your thumb means that it's easy to hit square from there.
Yes.
And so there are games that are like, okay, I'm going to have X be jump and circle be attack or shoot or something, and it's like, oh, you're just messing it up. The only people for whom that works is people who use their each individual finger to hit the buttons, and those people are freaks.
Have you not like slid your hand down and operated the circle, the face buttons with like your first 3 fingers, like putting one on each and then doing it like that?
That's for next level gamers. That's for
I'm surprised to hear that because you play on the Sega Genesis, the aforementioned Sega Genesis, a lot, which makes it mandatory to be able to do that move because of the stupid layout of three in one line.
It's true.
So if you're playing, a good example that comes to mind for me is NBA Jam. In order to slam dunk the ball in NBA Jam, you have to hold A and press C. You cannot do that with your thumb. That's actually impossible. So you have to slide your fingers down.
And then how do you hold that? Like you have to put that in your lap,
slide your
right?
fingers down and you hold down with your index finger A, and then you tap C with your ring finger.
And that's the titular jam.
I feel like I've found a way. To do it, but I don't know.
You found
I can't
there are
remember.
other ways technically to do it, but like a regular person will do what I just described.
To modernize this and talk about my husband again, I'm sorry. When he plays Souls games, when he's doing all that kind of stuff, he will frequently tap the face buttons with his nose when it's a particularly nasty boss fight. I remember him distinctly doing that, I think, fighting the ape in Sekiro. He's going to listen to this and then he's going to yell at me like, it wasn't Sekiro, it was something else. But this is absolutely a thing you do, Travis. So I don't want to hear it. But yeah, I think that's fun too.
What I'm hearing is that your husband is basically the GDQ dog.
I would love to see a picture. I would love to see a video of somebody just slamming their face into their controller doing a Souls boss.
He's not slamming it, but it definitely is something where he's doing something with his thumb on the face buttons and he has to hit something else. And I've seen him do it.
Maybe he should get a paddle controller or something.
No,
as well.
he would never. Like those
just
like
with paddles on the back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think you like it though.
Give you a couple more buttons, and then you don't have to smash your nose into it.
Okay, so cross button is the best button. I'm glad we resolved this. This next one is kind of a meta improv question in that you have to pretend it's not a stupid question.
Uh-oh.
What's the difference between a role-playing game, a role-playing game, and a role-playing game?
Shut up.
Well, a role-playing game is Super Monkey Ball, so
okay.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, that's true.
A
role-playing game
is your Baldur's Gate.
No, that's a role playing. Well,
I feel like a role-playing game is something where you use dice.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Like Yahtzee.
So in both cases, you're not spelling roll correctly here.
Well,
but I guess this is an audio podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a typed list that we're looking at.
And I guess a role-playing game is a game where you play as Mega Man's sister.
Yeah.
That's right.
You were reaching for that one, Jaffe.
Yeah.
The Rolton IPS patch for Mega Man. Yeah.
An RPG game is one that is developed in Korea for smartphones.
Yeah.
Everybody out there calls it an RPG game, a role-playing game, and they're always referring to a smartphone game. Yep, RPG games.
And then there are RPG games that launch a rocket at your foes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be charitable and define an RPG game as a game that is inspired by RPGs. It's iterative. We developed this game because we wanted to make a game like the role-playing games that...
I feel like that would be an RPG-like. So an RPG game would be one of those Kairosoft games where they you develop a game or you're doing something meta around a game. So it would be like you're managing a dev studio that's making an RPG. That would be an RPG game.
I mean, I guess what inspired this question is that when we talk about RPGs, there's both the sense of, a game with a story in it and a game where numbers go up.
Well, yeah, I think if I were to try to take it more seriously, I would say that a role-playing game is one where it's important that your character is defined by you and you are making decisions.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
That really affect your world and can reflect you as a person or can reflect the person you're trying to present as a role. And then a role-playing game would be an action RPG where the emphasis is on doing and actions.
Or even just a regular JRPG where the characters are already defined and like you don't have options to like play as the character and like, something like a Fallout
story
game where you create your character. Like a lot of people will play with like a specific character in mind and make dialogue choices based on playing that character that's in their mind. And sometimes it's like, what would Batman do? I'm going to play as Batman.
Yeah.
And that is like role playing.
And then a role playing game, I think, would be the simpler, more representative ones. So like your original Wizardry, or not a roguelike, but Rogue, the things where you're kind of to the metal of the game design and the numbers, essentially. So that's what I would say.
Is Pac-Man a role-playing game? You're a character who is making choices.
Pack and roll is, because you roll.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah,
well, we've answered that.
No, I don't think that any game in which you play a role is a role-playing game, because then the term loses all meaning. Like Mega Man's not, especially for me, because as we know, I don't connect to the games.
Right. You're a video game sociopath.
Yeah, I'm not Mega Man. I'm a person making Mega Man do things. So that's it.
So is it dialogue that makes it a role-playing game?
Well, I didn't think we were going into what's an RPG. I thought we were defining 3 different types of RPG.
Well, that's a different question. We're all playing in the same 6-minute space here.
I think that, like that, we don't have time to be like, what defines an RPG? Because that's a totally different question.
30 seconds left. What defines an RPG?
What defines an RPG? Find out what it means to me. Maybe next week. Here's my next question. Let's make a video game music playlist to play over the speakers at a dentist's office.
Balatro.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Really? That
Yeah.
would make me pretty anxious at the dentist.
Not the boss music, but like the regular general music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good dentist
I don't
music.
want to get like pumped up and inspired at the dentist.
Does Balatro music pump up and inspire you?
A little bit. There's sort of a flow to it where
Yeah.
I am being led into this experience. Like I'm being pushed forward is my feeling with that soundtrack, which I have played since the Game of the Year episode. Thank you. So that doesn't work for me. Like I want to be like pushed into my seat and soothed, not pulled out of my seat and engaged.
Echo the Dolphin, Aquanauts Holiday, like
Okay.
calming type.
Yeah.
Ones.
Yeah, but Echo the Dolphin isn't calming to me.
No,
Because
I agree.
I have the opposite feeling of Echo the Dolphin because that game is so fucking hard, and hearing that music, because, that was one of those when I was, a kid, when you only had like 2 games, so you played the same one over and over again. So you're playing this hard ass game and you're hearing the same music over and over again. It makes me anxious,
Well,
Yeah,
I
Echo
should
makes
have.
me anxious in general.
I
too.
should
Yeah.
have clarified that I meant Echo CD or Echo on the Dreamcast, both of which I'm sure that you haven't played, and so
Correct.
you wouldn't even know that it was Echo, and also they both have very calming, soothing soundtrack.
Well, I did play Jaws Unleashed, which is Echo on the Dreamcast Part 2.
Oh,
Nice.
Jaws Unleashed. Very appropriate.
Yeah.
Also, maybe a Mr. Driller. How about that?
I see. I don't want to stress people out. But
Yeah.
I suppose, you could do Mr. Driller. You could do mouth washing,
I have no mouth, but I must scream.
right?
I like
I'm
Super Mario
thinking-
Galaxy.
Hmm.
That soundtrack.
That's one you can get lost in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like actually, maybe more than soothing, it's just like distracting, right? Like maybe distracting is really good because when I'm at the dentist,
Well, you're not going to be able to hear.
Does anyone
anything.
honestly have a bad time at the dentist?
I don't.
Oh yeah, every time.
Really?
Yeah, because the anesthetic doesn't work on me very well.
Are you going in for surgery every time you go to the dentist? Like, even is getting your teeth clean?
I don't have insurance, so that's not something that I do. Yep, I'm missing one tooth right here, right now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. That's my life.
Well, I do go in for a cleaning, and even when the other stuff's going on, like it's annoying, but I've never had a terrible time. And it's because I don't know. I can't honestly say I know what meditating is, but I go to something like a meditative state, I think. I just kind of find a place of like zoning out and doing something else in my head.
Oh man, that sounds so nice. Because cleanings for me are like I have to mediate. I don't know what temperature everything that goes into my mouth is because I have really sensitive teeth. And so, like, when they start spraying the cold water, it's intense pain. When they start scraping, they hit the roots every time, and it's intense pain. It's just like, it's not a relaxing experience ever. It never has been.
Good
What's
grief.
the worst music to listen to at the dentist?
Doom.
Just a playlist of like boss fight.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking specifically like Pokemon boss fights, but also the low HP sound is going on at the same
Ooh.
time.
Or the sonic drowning noise.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh, man.
I think Bubble Bobble just
Yeah.
on loop. Like it's really catchy, but it's no the do 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 do.
I don't know what Jaffe was humming.
Yeah, I don't know what you were humming, Jaffe, but
Oh, I know what I was humming.
Bubble
I was
Bobble.
accidentally humming the Yoshi's Cookie theme. That's what I was
Oh.
doing. Sorry.
that's very different. But
I don't
That's
even
very
know what that
different.
is, but cool.
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bubble Bobble is just like it's really catchy. It's a really short loop, and it'll be in your head forever after you listen to it. And if you hear it for an hour, you probably lose your mind.
Yeah. All right. We'll be right back after a quick break. Are we ready to get back into it?
Give me one
Sure.
second.
Oh no.
Okie doke. This is why we ask.
Dun 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 dun.
Jesus. Okay. We can go now.
Okay, welcome back to Insert Credit. It's time to go to the question hole. This question was submitted by Catherine, who asks,
Just Catherine.
this question was submitted by Catherine, who asks, Happy Year of the Snake.
Thanks.
The games industry can feel like a snake eating its own tail with the amount of remakes, remasters, re-releases, and reboots. But what are some of the most interesting cases of putting out a game again?
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about snakes. Interesting cases of putting out a game again.
Should we just say that like straight up remakes don't count?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
They're not the most interesting. That's
I
for
actually
sure.
think that I don't know if it's the most interesting, but I think that the limited run re-release of the of Annette Futatabi and Ernest Evans is kind of interesting for Sega CD because they did very true to the era dubs on them, and the trailer that they put out for it was basically treating it like an anime OVA, since what's most interesting about those games is probably the animated cutscenes rather than the actual playing of them. So I thought that was kind of fun. I don't know about the best, but I thought that was it was an appropriate approach, and appropriate approaches I can get behind.
Something that comes to mind for me, sort of similar, the Technos Kunio games that when they were originally released in English, the ones that came out anyway, they weren't part of the same universe the way that they were in Japan, where there's like a consistent character roster, these high school kids that get up to, punching people and or playing basketball. And in the West, it was like River City Ransom, Nintendo World Championships, Crashing the Boys. They kind of reinvented every time the roster of characters. And when they kind of did like a collection of those games, maybe like 5 years ago, something like that, they retranslated all of them to be, consistently of that same universe. And I think that was interesting because it to me like corrected what you might call an historical mistake, which is presenting these games sort of out of context by recontextualizing them as part of a whole. Don't like those games so much anymore, but I think that's an interesting thing to do.
How would you feel if, for example, in like, I think it was Alex Kidd, when they call an onigiri a hamburger, if they changed it to be what it actually is, a little rice triangle instead of being a hamburger?
It's a regional dialect.
How would I feel?
Yeah, I feel like that would be. I feel like that would be wrong to do because
I think you make it optional. I think it's literally like in the options, like food, and you choose between the two. I think that's like a personal preference thing now. In the same way that like if you retranslate an RPG or something, like I worked on a Phantasy Star retranslation.
Yeah.
My preference would be that you can choose the character names, whether they adhere to the ones that or the original Japanese one. So that's how I feel about that. I think there's some things where it's like, I don't know if it was an historical wrong, to change it into a hamburger.
Yeah.
Because I think that's localization, not, alteration.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have something to say about Final Fantasy VII, but I realized that, it has remake in the title, but it's not a remake. It's a completely new game. It's like fan fiction of itself almost.
Yeah.
Because you're taking these characters and this, like, the bones of a story that we've seen before and, like, completely changing it and adding a bunch of new shit. Not necessarily all of it is good. So no to that. I mean, it's good that it exists because it exists as its own separate bespoke game that is not Final Fantasy VII in any way, shape, or form. Great. Good job. But I think the remakes that I really do like are the ones that give you something that may not be as accessible as it was anymore. I'm thinking of like the Capcom fighting game collections where they give you all of these old games in one place, add a bunch of quality of life updates so you can have not exactly the same experience as you had playing them as a kid, where you're playing them with multiple people and now you can do that online or whatever, but like similar to that. And then you can like cut down on like the difficultiness of it by having like save states and things like that. So you can play these old games in a modern way and still preserve some of the feelings that you had when you played them the first time. Those are great. We should do that.
Yeah. Patrick Miller, our friend of the show, Patrick Miller, runs fighting game tournaments and stuff. And for a long time, like CVS2, the best ways to play were like Fightcade or a PS2 copy or whatever. And so now with a modern release that will probably actually stay good for a while, that kind of stuff is actually important because like over at his tournament zone, he's got like 13 PS4s. And the reason is it pretty much runs all the fighting games that he needs it to run. And they're all stable. They're going to stay how they are. Those PS4s can run, and the PS4 will be able to run the new collection that has CVS2 on it. And so, that's interesting stuff to me.
I want to add in.
Were we talking remakes or re-releases?
Re-releases.
Yeah.
So Ash broke the rules a little bit. I want to talk about the one that we worked on that is the most interesting to me, which is SNK 40th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to like gloat about our own work, but I think that we think a little bit differently about these things, and for SNK 40th in particular, there are two things that I find really interesting about my own ideas, I guess. One of them is that we didn't pretend that these were like beloved classics. Like we made a collection of games that we assume you've never heard of, and it is.
It's more like filling in the gaps of SNK history.
Right. It's like, oh, do you like SNK? Let's look at their weird beginnings. And, I was really fortunate to be able to choose most of the titles in there. And I intentionally put in things that aren't quote unquote good, but are interesting for the sake of telling the story of this company. Yeah. And like, I like that. But the other thing that we did that is interesting to me is for the arcade games that controlled in ways that a regular video game console controller don't adhere to, most famously like the loop lever, the joystick that like twists so you rotate your character. We made those into twin stick games, which changes them fundamentally, sure, but also to me is the closest you can get to original intent. Without like shipping a loop lever joystick with the game.
It makes it actually playable. And, and all previous instances of it were basically
unplayable.
Which is why we talked about that as something that we wanted to make happen. And I think with another couple of those releases, like one thing that was cool on the Capcom Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection was for the Switch, you could emulate the Street Fighter, I think Super Street Fighter Turbo. I forget. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I forget which one it was. I think that's what it was. For arcades, they had a special mode where you could locally link 8 arcade machines together. And that is emulatable with 8 Switches. And that's really cool. I don't think many people took advantage of that, but it's just neat for it to be somewhere and possible. Yeah, it
was definitely a like we could do this. I'm feeling frisky. Let's do it, kind of thing. Yeah. So like, I mean, I didn't work on that part at all, but I was in the Slack.
Yeah,
that's what it came across.
And then the Samurai Showdown collection as well. I don't know if it counts as a re-release, but putting out Samurai Showdown 5 Perfect, which was a game that was only showed at one location test for like 4 hours, and then we put it out and did an English translation for the first time. That was really neat because that was just, it sort of was a re-release because that game itself was a redux of a prior version of the game because they had so many extra ROMs that got sent back because they made too many, and so they had to make something else with it. So it was sort of like a release of a re-release. I wish more people were interested in that, but can't force it.
A couple more quick Digital Eclipse things that like they're past my time that actually are really interesting. Most of it like is stuff Mike Micah worked on personally, but like Rock and Roll Racing and Lost Vikings and whatever the Blizzard collection is called, are really interesting. Like he basically. It's something like we're seeing with what we call static recompilation now, where it's like it just runs the original code, but now at like 60 FPS and widescreen. He did that for Rock and Roll Racing, and then Lost Vikings created the sort of master version where like the exclusive levels from both versions are just kind of tied together into one cohesive experience. I think that's really cool. Yeah. And then there's a lot of stuff in Atari 50, such as like Star Raiders, which is for old people who grew up with that game, that's like one of the pinnacles, right? Is Star Raiders. We hear about that all the time. If you try to actually play it, it's basically unplayable. You can't play it now. You'd have to be in the 80s, but he made a lot of decisions that make it, well, first of all, playable on a controller because you have button prompts and it's not expecting you to like press J on your keyboard to bring up the radar or whatever. Like there's just a button prompt for it. But also he increased frame rate and made all the animations smooth without breaking the logic. And that to me is kind of similar to what we were talking about with Ikari, like truer to the intent of what the author wanted you to see, as opposed to like, here is literally what existed in the 80s, pretend like you don't know better.
And to praise Digital Eclipse one more time, the Wizardry remake has the original Wizardry inside of it, like I mentioned in the rest of the Games of the Year episode, where in the what you might think is a minimap is actually just Wizardry itself running in the corner of the game, and it's just super cool.
As long as we're talking about Digital Eclipse, I can't believe we haven't brought up the making of Karateka, a playable documentary that includes a full remake of the original game.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's not that much different than the stuff we were just talking about, because it's like widescreen, better frame rate, you know.
All right.
But
okay.
And then the documentary part.
It's time to go to the question hole. This question was submitted by...
Wait, I thought we just did that.
This question was submitted by Catherine, who asks, Happy Year of the Snake!
What?
A lot of people who don't count themselves as game players have still put hours into things like Microsoft Solitaire, Wordle, and Snake. What do you think is the game most played by people who don't play games?
Catherine loves
Words
snakes.
with Friends and
Wordle.
Wordle.
Yep.
And that spelling bee one?
Yeah, spelling bee.
Whatever the New York Times is offering now to like bolster its subscription.
Connections, Ash's favorite game.
I do appreciate, I really like telling older people that they are gamers.
Because you have Candy Crush Saga on your phone.
Yeah, because they'll be like asking me what I'm up to, and I'll say, oh yeah, I'm making those video games, and they're like, oh, that's an interesting field. I never really interacted with that. And I'm like, okay, do you play Wordle? And they're like, yeah, etc. And then I'll ask, how much do you play it? How often? Oh, I play it every day. I play this one and then I play that one. And I was like, okay, well, you play more games than me. You're a gamer. You play games every single day. And they're like, oh, never thought about that.
My 99-year-old grandmother plays Solitaire on her phone.
Dang, 99.
Yeah.
Good for her.
It might be Wordle. It might be, no, I think it might be Solitaire. Like if you were considering everyone in the world who has a computer, either a desktop or a phone, I think the most played game might be Solitaire.
I wonder, because Solitaire,
or
you kind of have to,
maybe?
Solitaire, you got to go out of your way to find, I feel, and Wordle is just sort of, well, I guess you have to go out of your way for Wordle.
Yeah.
To let you know how dire it was for gamer Ashley before, she got her own money and could buy shit. Every day when we first got our first computer when I was 16 and was not allowed to go on the internet, and it was hard playing my actual like video game consoles like on the weekdays because I would have to set it up, I would have to start playing the game, and then I have to take it down before my mom got home so she wouldn't catch me playing, because we could play in her room.
Wow.
And you didn't want to get caught in her room because she had the TV that hooked up to the PlayStation or whatever. So I would come home every day and I would play Spider Solitaire while listening to the same like 2 tracks on Windows Media Player, the one that came with it. And I figured out for some reason how, I don't remember how, to burn Benny and the Jets onto the computer. So I would play Spider Solitaire or Pinball over and over and over again, listening to the same 2 music tracks over and over and over again because I had nothing else to do.
That's pretty good. My partner couldn't have, wasn't allowed to have video games per se, but got a disc of like freeware games in a Captain Crunch box with some cereal. And so she and her sisters wound up playing those Captain Crunch games like all the time, and she has like actual opinions about which ones are better and stuff, which is great because that's what happens when you're a kid and like this is what you have access to, and it's just like okay, this is the good one.
Ash, do you think you got into game journalism because you played so much Spider Solitaire while listening to Elton John say, I read it in a magazine?
No, I have no idea how I ended up here. I have no clue. Like, I really don't.
I think we've answered that. It's time to go to the question hole. This
Uh-oh.
question was submitted by Catherine, who asks, Happy Year of the Snake! Each of you has signed up for a pyramid scheme at GDC and have a house filled with tubs of snake oil. How do you pitch your snake oil to gamers? They are going to keep sending you snake oil until you pay off your debt, so get that stock moving.
Gamer Snake bath oil?
Yeah.
There is Gamer Goo, which is a real thing.
Yeah. Does that still exist?
I think so.
Is that a secretion or is that a product?
It's like it's an actual product, that you put on your hands, I think. It's like
No,
supposed to be like
you eat it. You squeeze it into your mouth.
No, you're thinking of Gamer Grub, Brandon.
No, I
Wait,
think
are
Gamer
you
Goo
being-
is like Go-Gurt for gamers, right?
No, I'm looking up Gamer Goo, and it's like antiperspirant for your hands.
Yeah, okay,
it is?
thank
Okay,
you,
I was wrong. So I was
Jesus.
thinking of Gamer Grub. Well, Gamer Grub is a goo, so you can understand my confusion.
Okay, so snake oil is a moisturizer, probably.
It's an alternative cure for measles.
Well, I don't know if we can tell people that literal snake oil will cure something, but I think that we can say that it moisturizes is where I'm. I think it's going to be easier to sell that an oil is a natural moisturizer than it is a cure for something. Because people have all heard of snake oil. Unless we're calling it something else, I guess we can call it something else, and it's technically snake oil.
What we need to do is develop a peripheral game that works like maybe the Kinect or Boktai, where how you do in the game depends on how well moisturized your hands are. Like it can detect the moisture level in your hands.
I don't like that.
I
think it protects your skin, but it also like protects your controllers. Okay.
Yeah.
Because like we've all had the rubber sticks, right?
That's right.
They get all gross because they've just been sitting around decomposing. But if you had been playing with snake oil on your thumbs, it would have continued moisturizing the thumbstick, and your PS2 would still be fine, and your childhood would come back, and everything would be okay.
So it's literal snake oil? Oil made out of snakes?
The question did not specify, but
that's how I'm interpreting it.
Yeah, I know, because if I don't feel like you can sell an actual oil to gamers very easily or efficiently.
Also, why are we selling things to gamers at GDC?
No, we got signed up for it.
You got signed up for it at GDC.
Let's see. Who am I? Who have I become that this happened to me?
Someone hit you on the head with a big mallet, and you just signed them a check.
It was in Demon School's publishing contract. You just didn't read it.
Yeah.
Every time you say snake oil, I think of those like cod liver oil pills that my mom made me take when I was a kid that was supposed to do something. I don't remember.
Was it maybe better at gaming?
Yeah, like, like those gamer glasses with the yellow tint. We can do that, but like snake liver oil will, I don't know, nebulous health benefits that make you better at gaming.
Yeah, like selling it to game people is tough. But I feel like if I were going to a farmer's market like in Gwyneth Paltrow's neighborhood, then I said that these were artisanal snakes. They're rare snakes from Burma.
Well, based on what we established in our previous question, Gwyneth Paltrow is probably some kind of gamer.
That's true.
So if we sold this to her, we would still be fulfilling the prompt.
And then she can sell it on Goop and call it Gamer Goop or whatever. And there we go. We are the sole supplier of Gwyneth Paltrow's Gamer Goop.
Yeah, we just get her in the pyramid scheme.
$11 million
is what we do.
Yeah.
I think my problem is the direct-to-consumer interpretation of this question. Like, we can't, make it GameStop's problem.
Oh, you want to go B2B with it. Okay.
Well, that's why we're selling it to Gwyneth Paltrow.
Well, B2C. But
is she a gamer?
Yes.
As we just established, all people are gamers.
Oh, you're right.
She's influential and she loves scams and she plays probably Wordle.
So if I get a distribution deal to Walmart or GameStop, and they sell to gamers, am I selling to gamers?
I think so.
Yes.
I think we've defeated this question.
Then I think it is the prompt isn't we have to make money. The prompt is we have to sell it.
Yeah, we have to get it out of our house.
So we are bottling up a product called Gamer Oil.
Yeah.
And it's an all-purpose oil, and they can use it to cool their PCs.
There you go! That was the answer!
Yeah.
That was it! Esper Quinn messaged me their secret answer to this question as I was asking it, and that was it!
Well, not only does it cool your PC, it the heat coming off of it gives you the essential oil smells in the air.
Oh, perfect.
So
That's for those lifestyle influencer gamers types.
Yeah.
Artisanal snakes.
All right. We've
I'm
done
just
it.
trying to launder money and get GameStop shares. So we sell them for GameStop shares,
Yeah.
which
Is that
they're
what you
just
want
giving
right
away
now?
like candy. And then who cares if they're worth
Yeah.
anything? Like,
All right.
You just gotta hoard 'em.
like we have a really stupid CEO of
Sure.
GameStop.
Really
who,
stupid CEO.
Right. Very dumb, like just horrible person of a CEO, who we can probably NFTs are a snake oil.
That's
Guy was
true.
all about NFTs.
Doesn't
right?
even moisturize you.
Just tell him that this was developed with AI.
Mm-hmm.
And it is reaching the gamer demographic in ways that traditional media have not been able to. Have some testimonials from real gamers,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to put them in every GameStop across the country for like the ridiculously low price that we're selling wholesale.
Yeah.
And we're done.
Okay.
And we can guarantee returns. Guarantee returns.
We
Who
sure
cares?
can.
Because I'm not on the hook for it. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not about
All
money.
right. I'd like us to play a new game for our lightning round this week that I've just developed. I'm calling this game Zelda Maker. Right now, I am on the website randomwordgenerator.com, where by hitting a button, you get a random word. We're going to use these words to create 6 Zelda dungeons. Every word I generate will be a keyword around which to design a central dungeon mechanic, a key weapon or item, and a boss. So, for example, if I generated the word water, you might propose a dungeon with rising and falling water levels and iron boots that let you sink to the bottom and an appropriately aquatic final boss. We're going to do this 6 times.
Oh, boy.
Does everybody get the gist of this game?
Yeah.
More or
Yes.
less.
Okay. All right. Your first word is, gem. What is the gem dungeon?
It's underground.
so it's basically a mine, right? Like it's a dungeon mine
Mhm.
where you have to mine the gems away to create paths, right?
Mhm.
So essentially, like you do have a pickaxe
Yep, that's
kind
the
of weapon
power.
Yeah.
that you pick up, and the boss is
No, the
something
boss is the
that-
Misfits.
No, the boss is like an old senile
Oh, it's a
Goron.
gem in the hologram, Joe.
It's Gem in the Holograms. Joe.
yeah.
I was
Sorry.
thinking it was a monster that has like eye holes with nothing in it, and you have to
Ooh.
like
Oh.
you have to throw gems into the eye holes, and then it goes "Brah," and flops around, and then like hits the ground, and then
Here's
you hit
the
it in
big thing that
space
we're
lock.
missing is that we're mining for things, and I haven't seen a mine cart yet.
They're
So-
in there.
There's got to be some mine carts. I think a boss where you have to ride the mine cart and throw the things. You could throw
It's
gems
extra
into the
credit
eye
at
holes,
this
but-
point. But
Sure.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Oh,
You have to use your bow to like shoot switches to like switch the track
Yeah.
before you can
Yeah.
get to like the special pickaxe or whatever. Yeah.
mm-hmm. That sounds like a good first half of the dungeon to me. Random word generator is being very generous today. Your next word is maze.
Maze.
Yeah.
As in
Uh,
corn,
so
I was
or is
gonna
it-
say like,
M-A-Z-E.
I'm going to make this difficult and theme this dungeon around corn.
It's a corn
Uh,
maze.
Ooh,
So
You
it's a
can't,
there
you
you go.
can make it a corn maze.
I will make it a corn maze.
It's cornfields, children of the corn.
This is the Midwest Zelda dungeon
Yeah.
where there's
Midwest-
hay rides.
Midwestern
corn
Zelda
mazes.
wears his hat backward.
Well,
Yeah.
as soon as you get in that dungeon, Link's
says,
model changes where there's like a piece of like wheat stuck out of his mouth.
Oh,
You
sure.
Country
Um,
Link.
Yeah, and he has overalls. Like you have to equip the overalls. Actually, that might be.
Oh,
the
that's
thing.
that's the dungeon item. The
You
overalls.
have to equip the overalls to walk through the like mid-height
Mm.
corn.
Yeah.
And the boss is a scarecrow.
Yeah.
You power up with apple cider.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh, this is
That
an
makes sense.
interesting one. Your next word is loading. What's the loading maze? The loading dungeon.
Loading dungeon.
So it's a pier in New Jersey
Yeah.
where shit gets lost all of the time. No, this is the Mafia
Yeah.
dungeon. Yeah.
This is the Wire season 2 dungeon.
It's
Your
it's
job
it's
is
it's the one of the very few episodes of The Sopranos I saw where they're DVD. Is that better than laser?
you have to load the back of trucks and occasionally like kick out some product that gets lost and it
Yeah.
doesn't make it onto the truck. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it has to be dungeony, and so
Yeah.
it should be like a whole shipping yard.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need an item and a boss.
The item is a crowbar to jimmy open what do you call them? Shipping containers.
Shipping containers.
Yeah.
That's a pretty pedestrian item, though. Now that I say it out loud.
Has Link ever used a crossbow? Or a crowbar, rather?
I don't think he's used a crowbar.
I'd like to propose something. A forklift certificate.
Oh,
You
yeah.
need to get that so you can
Forklift
drive the
certification.
forklifts around the
that's right.
dungeon.
Yeah, and the boss requires you moving pallets around. I don't know. There's something with like a scale, right? Like like you're loading pallets enough so that like the elevator goes up enough to like get you access to the boss once you like jump some platform.
And since we're crooked, the way to get your forklift license is you have to get enough money to buy it.
To buy it?
Yeah,
Right.
You don't
love
learn.
this.
Well,
You don't
that's
get
why the
better
gem
at doing
dungeon.
Yeah,
is
the
before
gem
this.
dungeon is where you got all that.
it. Yeah.
Oh, I like this.
But wait,
Yeah.
what was the boss? The boss? Do we get the boss?
It's like Big Pussy from The Sopranos.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just big pussy. Yeah. And then his second form is Big Mouth Billy Bass.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I don't know how you'll do this one. This is the Crackpot Dungeon.
a crackpot is like a deranged person,
Yeah, but
A conspiracy theorist type.
conspiracy theorist, right? Okay.
I was thinking though about I think it's Dragon Quest where there's like actual cracked pots that have like genies in them and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
just to make it a little more
I mean, we
interesting.
can make this really dark and like the one dungeon in Elden Ring where it's full of pots and the pots are like stuffed with humans. I mean, there it is
All
right
right.
there.
Mhm.
I was gonna go
Yeah.
Psychonauts Milkman level where you are interfacing with a crackpot who sees everything from that lens, and therefore you do also. So there's a lot of like shadowy G-men outside. And tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
Tinfoil hat is the item.
Tinfoil hat.
And it's I don't think tin is magnetic, but it is now. It allows you to magnet yourself up to the magnet crane from the previous stage, which connects to this one. The big magnet, like this sucks up, like Boss is Elvis.
Elvis.
Because Elvis is the hub of the harmless conspiracy theory.
Is it a sign that we are getting older and aging as a society that Elvis is no longer like the conspiracy theorist like go-to?
Oh yeah, nobody cares about that
Like-
guy anymore.
Yeah, what has replaced him?
Unfortunately, anti-Semitism.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
okay.
guess that's a little more. But I was just to quickly say I was going to go a different direction, a more annoying direction, where you have to. We're still working. We're still working off our debts from the last time.
Yeah.
And you have to carry pots across a slippery floor without cracking them. And it's basically an ice level plus an escort mission. Simultaneously, you're escorting these pots across, but you can't control yourself very well.
That really sounds like something that would be in Twilight Princess. It's very believable.
Have you ever run into that mini game where like you get like some kind of fragile thing and you have to carry it to some other place and the game registers if like you walk or run too fast as breaking it?
Yeah. Yes.
That shit sucks.
Yeah.
That should never be done.
So that's what I'm talking about. We should do.
It's really funny in some situations. Like in Raw Danger, you're supposed to like carry plates back to the kitchen, and if you hold the run button, like it's just on the exact frame that you tilt up, it just like throws everything.
The world's worst waiter.
Okay. This is a good one. The Paradox Dungeon.
2 doxes. The Paradox Dungeon.
Paradox Dungeon.
Let's see.
Oh, it's a dungeon with a bunch of like your job is to free the other Links from Link's other Zeldas.
All universe links.
It's the dungeon about the Zelda timeline.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the item is a chain. You connect all the links in the chain. And then the boss is. It's basically the boss
like a Four Swords adventure where like you have
Snake.
to.
Yeah.
I was thinking
make
it was
4
like
of
Snake,
them.
where you have to chain all your links together, and then you have to stop the boss Snake. It's the year of the snake, so
Happy Year of the Snake.
that's right.
And the boss is Shigeru Miyamoto, who does not care about any of this.
Right. Okay. Ooh.
Oh no.
Our last one is the Culture Dungeon.
Oh hell.
All right, it's a museum. It is a museum. It is what's the museum of? It's like you're in sort of a like Back to the Future 2 situation, except Biff is like Ganondorf, right? So it's like museum of Ganondorf's life, and everything's very exaggerated about how heroic he's been and stuff like that. And I don't want to do the like ticket thing again, because my thinking was like you need a separate ticket to go into the amphitheater, and that's where the boss fight is.
No, we already have the forklift certification.
Right, which doesn't help us here.
No.
Unless you get into the back rooms, but like that requires a game genie. But what would the item be then? What's in a museum? You get like the headphones with the little
guided audio tape.
You get the little map book.
Oh, that's it. That's it. It's one of those Zelda dungeons. It's one of those Zelda situations where you have to follow an exact path, or you just get lost and get spit back out. And so you need the audio guide that helps you navigate that situation while telling you about how great Ganondorf is.
Yeah, so you're forced to listen to it if you want to complete the dungeon. Who's the boss? The docent?
Well, the boss is, I don't know what it is.
Ben Stiller from Night in the Museum.
Okay, it's Ben Stiller from Night in the Museum.
It's just a big T-Rex. It's a skeletal Ganon.
And he is completely invincible for like 5 minutes as you're listening to the audio guide until it finally tells you what his weakness.
Yeah. Oh, that's very Nintendo.
I like that too.
The thing I was going to go for was Link gets shrunk down real small, and he's fighting bacteria. He's fighting cultures.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that too, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot you could do with that one, but
like Jabba Jabba's belly kind of situation.
Yeah. Sells it.
Has Link ever shrunk down?
Minish Cap, dude.
Yeah,
he
dude.
has, but not
into a
that
body
small.
though?
Not into a body, I don't think.
Has he magic school bus?
Oh, has he ever fantastic voyaged?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever
Mario
interspaced.
has, but Link has not.
Okay.
Okay, time for the secret final round of this. We're going to use all 6 of these items to beat Ganon's tower and defeat the final boss. How are we going to do that with a pickaxe, overalls, forklift certification, a tinfoil hat, a chain, and an audio guide?
Tinfoil hat deflects against blasts from Ganon's mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's kind of a Mega Man 2 bubble situation where you're like, you are not ever going to guess correctly that like that's the most powerful thing in the game, but it turns out it is.
The chain is going to temporarily restrain him when he does like an unblockable.
That's too.
When he's about to do an unblockable.
Now we got to get to him too. It's not just the fight, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can use some of these to get to Ganon.
Well, you use the forklift certification to like drive up, I don't know, up a hill or up like a spiral staircase.
Well, there's like a dragon you defeat that you can ride, but as soon as you ride on him, like Link doesn't know what to do. And then pull out your
It's like a really fat dragon, and you have to like carry him with the forklift.
Mm-hmm. He has these like fangs coming out that look like forklift prongs.
Use little horns for the tractor controls.
I like that.
The overalls, I mean, it's pretty simple, but it gets you through the piles of skeletons. So he's got, like you have to wade through the skeletons in your over.
Yeah, because they're all wearing overalls, and so if you're wearing overalls too, they don't want to bite you.
They don't.
Just like me.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
I like
they're
this
all
better,
like
actually.
evil
It's a stealth
Marios.
thing. It's a stealth costume now.
Yeah.
It's like you belong here because you're
That's
an
right.
overall.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe in a sort of crossover thing, he has a bunch of skeletons that are wearing like Mario overalls.
Yeah.
Mario overalls.
Zelda games do that sometimes.
Yeah.
The pickaxe and the museum audio guide.
Use the pickaxe to like pick the super powerful gems out of like Ganondorf's back or something, and it depowers him or makes him vulnerable for a second before
he's
they
got
grow
like
back.
the Infinity Gauntlet, basically.
Yeah.
And
then
he's got the Triforce embedded in his back, and you need to pick it out.
I like it.
And then the
museum guide.
The museum guide. No, this is too meta. I was gonna say you make Ganondorf listen to it, and that makes you invincible until he finds out what your weak point is.
No, that's it. Congratulations, Brendan. You've won the episode.
Hooray!
All
You
right.
have 5 minutes to defeat him before he finds your weak point.
Yeah.
I actually do like that.
Yeah. That was a pretty good game. We might play that again.
I really do like the Midwest Zelda dungeon. I think that was
Yeah. Does anyone have anything they'd like to recommend to our audience this week?
Midwest Zelda would probably sell.
Mm-hmm.
I'd buy it.
I got some. First of all, I'm going to recommend the movie Naked Killer from directed by Clarence Falk, because he died last week. And he did a lot of cool Hong Kong movies like that, which is probably what he's most famous for in the West. Also, The Iceman Cometh, which got a Blu-ray recently. Naked Killer is like the ultimate, in a positive sense, of the Category 3 Hong Kong cinema, where it's just like there's naked people, there's blood and gore, but it's not offensive. And the action is really fast and furious. It's basically about it's sort of like La Femme Nikita meets The Professional meets something else, with a bunch of ladies who got to murder people by flipping around and shooting their balls off. And the jokes are actually pretty funny. So if you can find it, that's the difficult part. If you want it on DVD, you got to get the Hong Kong Legends version, because that's the only one that's complete. That's a movie.
Every time you say Hong Kong, I think you're about to say Hong Kong.
That's
It's
completely
not gonna
true for me as well.
Yeah.
I'm never going to do it.
Just
Yeah.
something about the way you say
I
it.
don't know.
Well, I do say
He
honk
says honk,
sometimes, so
Yeah.
every time.
And then the other thing is that California Fire Relief bundle that I put out, that's still available.
Mhm.
And if you haven't gotten it yet, you should get it. By the time you listen to this, there's going to be like 3-4 more days. And I would appreciate folks sharing it in places where I have less access, like Facebook or Threads or Instagram, or those are all owned by the same company, or other places.
The Zuckerverse.
Yeah, the
somewhere
Zuckerverse.
else.
The Zuckerverse.
TikTok, whatnot. Just because it took me too long to get this bundle going because I couldn't find a charity that wanted to take the money for a long time, and with the whole news cycle having passed by, it's less of a hot button issue for people to jump on. It has done pretty well. It's like about $240,000 now.
That ain't nothing.
Which it's not nothing, but it would have been a lot more if we had been current. So any bit of sharing that around will probably help to get people to see it for the first time, because it's $8,000 worth of stuff for $10 minimum ask.
Yeah.
And
For
like
just $10, you could have a virtual library the size of Brandon's physical library.
that's right. And even if you just want Tunic,
Yeah.
for $10 instead of $30, it's worth it.
And having 8,000 more games in your library is a positive.
Well, it's 400.
thing,
It's 400.
Yes, of
$8,000, 400
Yes.
games, and tabletop RPGs and other things. Anyway,
All right.
the end. Thanks.
Yeah, go get that. Go play Tunic. I don't want to step on the bundle. Whatever you would want from me, just transfer it there.
Ash, you got anything?
No, I don't have anything this week.
All right.
Not this week.
I would like to recommend my new podcast, The Culture Dungeon. I'd like to recommend, if you enjoyed this or any episode of Insert Credit, please rate and review our show wherever and however you can. We look at those iTunes reviews. We look at those Spotify reviews. It's nice for us personally, and also just helps the metrics of the show. You could also support us directly with your donations on patreon.com/insertcredit. We really need those too. If you'd like to sponsor our show with an advertisement or personal message, or submit your own horrible buzzer, you can email me at show@insertcredit.com. You can also join our community at forums.insertcredit.com. And if you're not watching us already, you can watch us on youtube.com/insertcreditshow. Go ahead and wishlist Demon School on Steam. Go ahead and subscribe to The Verge. Go ahead and check out archive.gamehistory.org. This week's buzzer is submitted by It's Called Sister FPGA, Stupid. I'm Alex Jaffe.
I'm Frank Spaldi.
I'm Ash Parrish.
I'm Brandon Sheffield.
And Happy Year of the Snake!
But who edited this and who did the music? I was wondering about that.
Oh, We'll never know.
Okay.
That's sad.
Actually, if you could say that real quick, that would be very appreciated. You've been leaving that out of several episodes in a row.
Yeah, I think what happened was I accidentally deleted it from my script at one point. And this week's episode is edited by Esper Quinn with music by Kurt Feldman. I'm going to type that right back in my script right now so I don't forget it again.
Thank you so much.
Very good.